BMW is ending the Z4 into market. There's a final edition, flat black paint, red stitching, and a plaque on the sill. Every send-off review calls it special, so I pulled a spec sheet. Springs, dampers, steering, diff, all of it carries over from the Han Schalter you could already buy. Mechanically, nothing here is new. So, what exactly are you paying for? The B58 makes 382 horsepower, but I've driven enough of these to realize that the spec sheet isn't being forthright. Peak torque runs from 1800 to 5000 RPM, so on any real road, you're never in the wrong gear. I've done it all, short shift to fourth and let it pull on torque, or run it up to red line and let it chase the top. BMW quotes a 0 to 60 time of 4.2 seconds for this car, and that really doesn't tell you anything useful about this thing. The B58 has rightly earned its reputation, and here in this Roadster, it is a special motor. It pulls effortlessly from idle, gets a lot more urgent near the top of the rev range, and it's just buttery smooth. In the more aggressive powertrain modes, there's some artificial crackle and pop that comes from the exhaust, and throttle response gets a little bit more aggressive, but it's not like the BMW M pedals from about 15 years ago, which were far too aggressive. This throttle is still progressive even in the more aggressive modes. And sure, those burbles from the exhaust are fun, but they're not necessary. The underlying engine note is perfectly fine, and I think making the fake sounds come out of the exhaust is kind of like wearing a belt with suspenders. This 6-speed is the whole reason for this car. There's no question about that. And this shifter is fantastic. It's the best BMW has done in the modern era. Throws are the right length. Gates are well defined, just has the right weight, and clutch take-up is actually pretty crisp, but also fairly forgiving, especially if you're a newcomer to the manual gearbox. Thankfully for drivers like us, the rev matching function is switchable, so we can heel and toe old school style, or you can do it in the modern assisted way. And I really can't complain about BMW's rev matching because it always seems to blip the throttle the correct amount every time I'm looking for a downshift. You get the sense that BMW spent some time calibrating this engine to work specifically with this gearbox, and BMW has done that badly before, but not here. The electronically controlled limited slip diff at the back reads data from a whole suite of channels all throughout this car so that it can determine the correct amount of lock at any given moment. And unlike a mechanical diff, under braking, it opens up for extra stability, and then once you get back on the throttle, it determines the perfect amount of lock to get you through the corner. And the really impressive part is how well calibrated it is. It never asks for your attention and just allows you to get on with the business of driving. What a wonderful diff. Software this transparent and this seamless is hard to write, and most manufacturers, they're happy to settle for less. Subscribers get the next review when it goes live. Everyone else leaves it to the algorithm. If you want to know when our next episode drops on YouTube, well, that's what the subscribe button does. Two things make this Roadster livable when the roads turn ugly, and in the Toronto area, we've got plenty of ugly roads. First is the adaptive dampers, which I generally set to their softest setting to begin with. And that's because most of these road surfaces are badly broken, and that leaves the dampers trying to chase body and wheel control. And if you leave the dampers in sport, the tire is actually going to skip off the road surface from time to time. And in comfort on public roads, body and wheel control is impeccable, and ride quality is excellent as well. The second thing is the tires, because BMW fits non-run flats to the Z4. And the internet knows that BMW run flats have wrecked the ride of more good cars than anyone cares to remember. These Michelin Pilot Sports and BMW's adaptive dampers are a magical combination. Set the dampers soft and it just breathes with the road. There's a complaint about this car that's been repeated so often that it's somehow become fact, and that is steering has no feel. Of course, I'm going to push back on that because I don't necessarily agree with the consensus. And here's the thing. Feel does not live in the steering wheel rim. It lives in how the car loads into a corner, then how it settles. It also lives in your inner ear, as long as you're paying attention. Because if you're listening, each of the 4 tires will tell you what's going on through the chassis and through the seat. Artificial weight is one of the easiest things to add in a modern car with electrically assisted power steering. It's also the least thing worth having, but this Z4 talks. You just have to listen with the right part of your body. The Handschalter package is the whole reason for this car, and it has nothing to do with the third pedal or the shifter. For the manual, they made comprehensive changes to the suspension. Stiffer springs, a reinforced front anti-roll bar clamp, retuned adaptive dampers. The car rotates predictably at the limit, and it is impeccably balanced. It is just a joy in the corners. And yeah, there's some body roll here, but it's the same kind of body roll you find in the MX-5. It's there to let you know what's going on. It's another channel of communication, another channel of feedback. And from my perspective, balance you can trust is much more satisfying than ultimate grip. M Sport brakes on this one, big red calipers and 4 pistons up front. And forget the rotor diameter. What's more important in a car like this is a brake pedal you can trust, and this one is fantastic. Feel, control, modulation are all impeccable. On corner entry, trail braking this into a corner, I've got precise control of the attitude of the Z4 with that brake pedal. And especially in a manual, the brake pedal's gotta be good because drivers like us are heel and toeing this thing, and the pedal setup works. The brake pedal pressure is just perfect for heel and toe on a spirited drive. And I've driven this enough to know that this brake pedal would also hold up to heel and toe on a track day. This is an incredible brake pedal, and it deserves its place here in the Z4 manual. If you'd like to support the channel beyond just watching, the merch store link is here, and your support there means more time for us to produce episodes like this and a little less time worrying about industry access. No pressure, just an option. Absolutely love this seating position. You sit low in the chassis and it feels like you're almost sitting on top of that rear axle, but you're not quite. You're just a little bit ahead of it. But this is cockpit perfection. I've got a wonderful interface to the steering wheel and to the pedals. There's lots of adjustment in this steering column, even more than what I usually ask for, and the pedals are laid out perfectly because heel and toe is a breeze. If you are a heel and toe driver, well, I got to tell you, it is incredibly easy to be able to brake effectively and reach over and blip that throttle. If you don't know what I'm talking about, a link to our heel and toe episode is here. It's probably the best one on YouTube. If you want to brush up on your technique or are learning from scratch, well, click on the link and I'll show you how to do it. Yes, this is a BMW, so the seats are firm, and it is a Z4, so there's some more aggressive bolstering here, but over longer drives, they're extremely supportive, and even on some long drives, I'm not getting out of this thing fatigued, and yeah, I have a bad back. And yeah, my back has seen things and likes to lodge complaints, but it's not doing it here. Now, if you're familiar with modern BMWs and you look at this dashboard, you realize that it's a half or full generation behind BMW's latest, but here it's a gift. You get physical climate control buttons that are easy to find instead of being buried in the screen. The iDrive controller still survives, although it's a bit redundant because this is a touchscreen. The screen, as well as the instrument cluster, are legible in all kinds of lighting conditions, even on bright sunny days. None of this is new, and the best part for this car, none of it needs to be. And given this car's mission, it's nice to see that BMW's latest system isn't here, because in some ways, that system is trying to solve for problems that nobody has. Other than the paint, it's here where this Final Edition is spending some money. There's red stitching across the dash, across the doors, on the seats. And normally I don't care for things like this, but it ties the whole cabin together and comes off as expensive, but we know that it really didn't cost BMW a lot. Right now, and this car doesn't have many miles at all, the leather and the Alcantara look lovely. Ask again in about 3 years and we'll see how that Alcantara is doing. And build quality is typical BMW. It's better assembled and screwed together than it needs to be. If you've been following along in the channel, you know we've been driving some convertibles lately. Some that cost $400,000, some that cost $40,000, but this one is more usable than all of them. That's because you can easily fit 2 carry-ons in this trunk, plus some other stuff. And you can't do that in any of the other convertibles we've driven this year. That makes this more practical than some cars that promise to be practical. Here in the cabin, there's a wireless charger, there's a couple of cup holders here, some storage in the doors, some storage back here, and overall there's much more space inside the car than you think there is. And none of these are the reasons you'd buy this car, but all of them are the reasons you could live with this on a daily basis. If this episode gave you more info than a brochure or a press release, hit like. It tells YouTube to share this with other people like you interested in an episode like this. Takes just a second. A week with a press car is kind of like the early part of the honeymoon phase with any new car, but it doesn't tell you anything about year 3. It doesn't tell you what it's like to live with in weather with 40,000 miles on it, and for that, you ask the people who own one. No surprise, the thing owners keep coming back to is the engine. The B58 has earned a reputation as one of the most durable things BMW builds, and the people piling on the miles tend to confirm it rather than complain. And yes, it helps that this car shares its drivetrain with the Supra. An owner is never stranded for parts or a second opinion. A luxury a roadster built in tiny numbers would never earn on its own. That community has a playbook, and near the top is a part most owners never think about: the manual shifts with a clutch delay valve. A hydraulic restrictor BMW's fitted to its manual cars for 20 years to slow engagement. Owners put it less kindly. It softens the bite point and muddies the 1 to 2 shift, and pulling it out takes 2 tabs in 5 minutes. But here's the catch on this car: do it on your brand new Final Edition, and BMW can walk away from the driveline warranty if they find it. So owners sit in their garages weighing a sharper bite point against their warranty. I've driven enough of these with enough miles under my belt to have an opinion on it. It doesn't bother me. The complaints that come up are about living with it, not driving it. Then the tires, those staggered wheels, 19s front, 20s rear. Look right and plant the power. And if you drive like me, the rears wear on their own clock. You buy in pairs, and few tires come in both sizes. The summer rubber goes greasy below 45 degrees, so like it or not, you've bought a fair weather car. One more thing owners say: they line this up against the Nissan Z that's $30,000 cheaper, and the Boxster that consensus says is the sharper driver's car. They concede both points. They buy the Z4 anyway, and in fairness to the Boxster, it was so good that Porsche decided to replace it with a battery. The Z4 holds on to the straight 6 and keeps quiet. And none of that ends up on the official spec sheet or the website. If you own one of these or have some quality seat time in one of these, let me know in the comments what I got right and what I got wrong, because real-world owner experiences are much more valuable than anything I can learn in a week-long press loan, and I always read those comments. So, from the top, what are you paying for? Well, when you pull the spec sheet for this particular tester, you're paying for flat black paint, red stitching, and a sill plate. The platform is the Hochhalter package on sale since 2024. Nothing mechanical changed. And none of that is a criticism of the car, which was already the best version of itself. Any criticism lands on the special edition and the idea that that makes this car more than it is. You are buying a wrapper. The wrapper is lovely. This car is for someone in a warm climate who'll use the top, someone who wants more pace than a Miata without buying the base trim of something more expensive just to wear a badge. This is the last 2-seat BMW Roadster, and the replacement is a calendar reminder that says nothing. Enjoy this one while it exists, while the people responsible for building the next one aren't saying much of anything. The car underneath this frozen black paint is already the car that I called one of BMW's best and certainly their best open-top car. Now that we can have a manual in the Z4, it transcends all of that. It is one of the truly most special cars you can buy in 2026. But if you want this car, skip the final edition. Here's what you do. You get the manual Z4, but you finish it in San Remo green, metallic, and cognac Vernasca leather. Gorgeous gloss paint, a warm cabin, same brilliant drivetrain, same brilliant platform, but none of the special edition premium. A 382 horsepower turbo roadster doesn't become a collectible because somebody put a badge on it. It's already collectible. Buy the car, skip the badge. That's the last Z4 manual. Subscribe if you want to see more episodes like this. Don't if you don't. Comments are open if you disagree. And if you'd like to help support the channel, the link to the merch store is here. See you on the next one.